The New Year Honours 1965 were appointments in many of the Commonwealth realms of Queen Elizabeth II to various orders and honours to reward and highlight good works by citizens of those countries. They were announced in supplements to the London Gazette of 29 December 1964 to celebrate the year past and mark the beginning of 1965. At this time, honours for Australians were awarded both in the United Kingdom honours on the advice of the premiers of Australian states, and also in a separate Australia honours list. Recipients of honours are displayed here as they were styled before the new honours. United Kingdom. Life Peer Baron George James Cole, ESQ, Chairman, Unilever Limited. Sir Howard Walter Florey, MD. For services to medicine, Sir Christopher Hinton, K.B.E., lately Chairman, Central Electricity Generating Board. Sir William Graham Holford, Professor of Town Planning, University College, London. Privy Councillor the Honourable Mr. Justice Stable, MCQ. Judge of the High Court of Justice, Queen's Bench Division. Knight Bachelor John Bailey, ESQ. For Political and Public Services in Bradford. Professor Robert Vivian Bradlaugh, C.B.E.D. D.Sc.D. D.S. President, General Dental Council. Alderman Dryden Brooke. For Political and Public Services in Halifax. His Honour Walker Kelly Carter, Q.C. Senior Official Referee, Supreme Court of Judicature. Charles Mills Corley, ESQ, C.B.E. Chief Scientist, Ministry of Power. Leonard Cook, ESQ, O.B.E. President, Cooperative Wholesale Society Limited. David Patton Cuthbertson, ESQ, C.B.E. MD, Director, Rowett Research Institute, Bucksburn, Aberdeenshire. Colonel William Lang Denham, T.D.D.L., Chairman, Shipping Federation Limited. Morris Albrecht Twistleton Wycombe Fines, ESQ, Chairman, Davian United Engineering Company, and for services to export. Alderman Nicholas Garrow, O.B.E. for Political and Public Services in Northumberland. Alderman William Hemingway, J.P. for Political and Public Services in Leeds. Alderman Mark Hennig, for Political and Public Services in Leicester. Alderman Gilbert Samuel Inglefield, T.D. Aldermanic Sheriff, City of London. John Kenneth Trevor Jones, ESQ. C.B.E. Legal Advisor, Home Office. William Ross McLean, ESQ, V.R.D. QC, Sheriff of the Lothians and Peebles. John McMichael, ESQ, MD, F.R.C.P., Professor of Medicine, University of London. Stanley Matthews, ESQ, C.B.E. for services to Association Football. Peter Laurie Meldrum, ESQ, J.P., Lord Provost of Glasgow. Carl Raymond Popper, ESQ, Professor of Logic and Scientific Method, University of London. Gilbert Roberts, ESQ, Partner, Freeman, Fox & Partners, Consulting Engineers. Frederick Stratton Russell, ESQ, C.B.E.D. Sc.D. F.C. Secretary to the Council of the Marine Biological Association of the United Kingdom and Director of the Plymouth Laboratory. Owen Alfred Saunders, ESQ. Professor of Mechanical Engineering and Head of Department, Imperial College, University of London. Nicholas Thomas Seckers, ESQ. M.B.E. Founder and Manager of the Rosehill Theatre. Managing Director, West Cumberland Silk Mills Limited. Harold Charles Shearman, ESQ. For services to education. Professor Lawrence Dudley Stamp, C.B.E. President, Royal Geographical Society. For services to land use. Joseph Lincoln Spedding Steel, ESQ, Chairman, Triplex Holdings Limited. Cyril James Stubblefield, ESQ. Director, Geological Survey of Great Britain and Museum of Practical Geology. Ronald George Thornton, ESQ, Vice Chairman, Barclays Bank Limited, and for services to export. Theodore Henry Tyler, ESQ, Chairman, Executive Council, Royal National Institute for the Blind. Charles Haynes Wilson, ESQ, Principal and Vice-Chancellor, University of Glasgow. Australian States, State of Victoria. The Honourable Edward Herbert Hudson, a Justice of the Supreme Court of the State of Victoria. Eric Scott, ESQ, OBE, for his services to pharmacy in the State of Victoria. State of Queensland. William Alfred Brand, ESQ, CBE, of Childers, State of Queensland, for public services, particularly to the sugar industry. State of South Australia. Richard George Hawker, ESQ, a leading industrialist and pastoralist in the state of South Australia. State of Western Australia. Ernest Thorley Lawton, ESQ, JP, for public services in the state of Western Australia. Commonwealth relations. Horace John Crude, ESQ, CBEF, RCSL, RCP, Senior Specialist and Surgeon, Uganda. The Honourable Albert Michael Margai, Prime Minister of Sierra Leone. Malin Sorsby, ESQ, CBE, Chairman, Munite Alp Foundation, Kenya. Overseas Territories. Alfred Etienne Jerome Dupush, ESQ, OBE, for public services in Bahamas. Richard Lala Galley, ESQ, Chief Justice, Aden. Order of the Bath. Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the Bath. Admiral Sir Charles Edward Madden, BT. K. CB. General Sir William Gurdon Sterling, K. CB. CBED. SOA. DC. Colonel Commandant, Royal Regiment of Artillery. Sir Thomas Padmore, K. CB. Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Transport. Knight Commander of the Order of the Bath. Vice Admiral Ronald Vernon Brockman, C. SI. CIE. BE. Vice Admiral Frank Rodham Twisp, CBD. SC. Major General George Sinclair Cole, CB. BE. Late Royal Regiment of Artillery. Lieutenant General Geoffrey Randolph Dixon Mason, C. BED. SO. Colonel, the King's Shropshire Light Infantry. Acting Air Marshal Brian Kenyon Burnett, CBD. FCA. FC. Royal Air Force. Acting Air Marshal Peter Guy Wycombe, CBD. SO. BED. FCA. FC. Royal Air Force. Sir Edmund Gerald Compton, K.B.E. CB, Controller and Auditor General, Exchequer and Audit Department. William Arthur Harvey Druitt, ESQ, CBH, M. Procurator General and Treasury Solicitor. Martin Teal Flett, ESQ, CB, Second Permanent Under Secretary of State, Ministry of Defence. Companion of the Order of the Bath Military Division. Surgeon Rear Admiral Maurice Henry Adams, Q. HSMBB, CH. Rear Admiral Patrick Uniacke Bailey, D. SC. Rear Admiral Francis Brian Price Brain Nichols, D. SC. Rear Admiral David Granville Clutterbuck. Rear Admiral Donald Cameron Ernest Forbes Gibson, D.Sc. Surgeon Rear Admiral John Morley Holford, O.B.E.Q. H.P. M.B.M. R.C.S. Acting Major General Bertram George Ruffs. The Venerable Archdeacon Raymond William Richardson, Q.H.C. Rear Admiral David Apthorpe Williams, D.Sc. Major General Edward John Hunter Bates, O.B.E.M.C. Late Royal Regiment of Artillery. Major General Ewing Henry Wrigley Grimshaw, C.B.E.D. S.O. Late Infantry. Major General William Herbert Hargreaves, O.B.E.F., RCP.M., RCS, Late Royal Army Medical Corps. Major General Eustace John Bloys Nelson, D.S.O.M., VOO, B.E.M.C., Late Foot Guards. Major General Marshal St. John Oswald, C.B.E.D. SOMC, late Royal Regiment of Artillery. Major General John Anthony Jervis Reed, C.B.E.D. SOMC, late Infantry. Major General Robert Alexander Stephen, C.B.E.Q. HSMD, Ch.M., late Royal Army Medical Corps. Major General Francis Bryan Wildboar Smith, D.S.O.O.B.E., late Royal Armoured Corps. Air Vice Marshal William Vernon Crawford Compton, C.B.E.D. S.O.D. F.C., Royal Air Force. Air Vice Marshal Peter Carteret Fletcher, O.B.E.D. F.C.A. F.C., Royal Air Force. Air Vice Marshal Edgar Knowles, C.B.E. Royal Air Force. Air Vice Marshal Geoffrey Leonard Seabrook, Royal Air Force. Acting Air Vice Marshal Norman Colpoy Simpson Rata, C.B.E. Royal Air Force. Air Commodore George Roygun, O.B.E.M.B. C.H.B. Royal Air Force. Air Commodore Ian Douglas Napier Lawson, C.B.E.D. F.C. Royal Air Force. Civil Division William Eden Tatton Brown, ESQ, Chief Architect, Ministry of Health. The Right Honourable Ronald John Billsland, Baron Clydesmuir M.B.E.T.D., President, Territorial and Auxiliary Forces Association for the County of Lanark. Frank John Doggett, ESQ, Under-Secretary, Ministry of Aviation. Julian Clement Peter Elliston, ESQ, TD, Parliamentary Council. Alexander Thomas Kingdom Grant, ESQ, C.M.G., Under-Secretary, Export Credits Guarantee Department. Peter Henderson, ESQ, M.D., Principal Medical Officer, Department of Education and Science. Harold William Hobbs, ESQ, C.B.E., Deputy Controller, Royal Ordnance Factories, Ministry of Defence. Kenneth Roderick Mackenzie, ESQ, Clerk of Public Bills, House of Commons. Frank Fidders Main, ESQ, MBF, RC, P.Ed, Chief Medical Officer, Ministry of Health and Local Government for Northern Ireland. John Hayes Marriott, ESQ, O.B.E., Attached Ministry of Defence. Charles James Maston, ESQ, C.B.E., Under-Secretary, Ministry of Labour. Anthony Dilwyn Peck, ESQ, M.B.E., Deputy Under-Secretary of State, Ministry of Defence. Albert William Cecil Rilland, ESQ, Director of Inland Telecommunications, General Post Office. John Hugh Street, ESQ, Under-Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Local Government. John Crichton Thompson, ESQ, C.B.E., Director of Naval Electrical Engineering, Ministry of Defence. Order of St. Michael and St. George, Knight Grand Cross of the Order of St. Michael and St. George Sir Joseph John Saville Garner, K.C.M.G., Permanent Under-Secretary of State, Commonwealth Relations Office. Sir Evelyn Denison Hone, K.C.M.G., C.V.O.O.B.E., lately Governor of Northern Rhodesia. Dame Commander of the Order of St. Michael and St. George Miss Nancy Broadfield Parkinson, C.B.E., Controller, Home Division, British Council. Knight Commander of the Order of St. Michael and St. George Cosmo Dougal Patrick Thomas Haskett, ESQ, C.M.G. M.B.E., Governor and Commander-in-Chief, Falkland Islands. Roger William Jackling, ESQ, C.M.G., Deputy Permanent Representative of the United Kingdom to the United Nations. Anthony Handley Lincoln, ESQ, C.M.G., C.V.O., Her Majesty's Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary in Caracas. The Honourable John Patrick Edward Chandos Henniker Major, C.M.G., C.V.O.M.C., Her Majesty's Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary in Copenhagen. Archibald Duncan Wilson, ESQ, C.M.G., Her Majesty's Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary in Belgrade. Companion of the Order of St. Michael and St. George Ewan Broadbent, ESQ, formerly Assistant Secretary, Sovereign Base Areas Administration, Cyprus Ministry of Defence. Alexander Carroll, ESQ, Senior Trade Commissioner, Canada. Colonel Edgar Allen Griffin, OBED, Regional Director, Southern Region, Commonwealth War Graves Commission. William Douglas Sweeney, ESQ, Assistant Secretary, Ministry of Overseas Development. John Arthur Briscoe Allen, ESQ, Commissioner of Prisons, Kenya. David Lee Cole, ESQ, M.C., British High Commissioner in Malawi. David John Coward, ESQ, OBE, Registrar General, Official Receiver and Public Trustee, Kenya. Lieutenant Colonel Charles Royal Dickinson, Postmaster General, Southern Rhodesia. Marcus Bertram Hoare, ESQ, Q.C. of Brisbane, State of Queensland, for services to the welfare of ex-servicemen and women. Norman Stewart Carey Jones, ESQ, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Lands and Settlement, Kenya. Dennis Owen Matthews, ESQ, OBE, General Manager, East African Tourist Travel Association, Kenya. Clement Aubrey Pounsit, ESQ, Public Service Commissioner and Chairman, Public Service Board, State of South Australia. The Honourable Arthur Gordon Ryler, E.D., Chief Secretary and Attorney General, State of Victoria. Harold Smedley, ESQ, M.B.E., British High Commissioner in Ghana. Peter Ernest Walters, ESQ, Civil Secretary, Eastern Region, Kenya. Gavin Edward Wyatt, ESQ, Managing Director, East African Power and Lighting Company Limited, Kenya. Ewan Cameron Thompson, ESQ, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Transport and Communications, Northern Rhodesia. Samuel Horatio Graham, ESQ, OBE, Administrator, St. Vincent. Lawrence John Hobson, ESQ, OBE, Political Advisor to the High Commissioner for Aid in and the Protectorate of South Arabia. George Peter Lloyd, ESQ, Colonial Secretary, Seychelles. Donald Alonzo Wiles, ESQ, OBE, lately Administrator, Montserrat. Michael Gerard Laurie Joy, ESQ, MC, lately Councillor, Her Majesty's Embassy, Stockholm. John Ormsby McCormack, ESQ, MC, Foreign Office. Anthony Ross Moore, ESQ, lately Foreign Office. Norman Jordan Moss, ESQ, Consulate United Kingdom Delegation to the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development. Peter Richard Oliver, ESQ, lately Councillor, Her Majesty's Embassy, Jakarta. Stephen John Linley Over, ESQ, M.B.E., lately Councillor, Her Majesty's Embassy, Washington. Reginald Arthur Phillips, ESQ, OBE, Assistant Director General, British Council. Alan Desmond Frederick Pemberton Piggott, ESQ, lately Foreign Office. Carol Oliver Imbert Ramsden, ESQ, Councillor, Her Majesty Embassy, Brussels. Donald Claude Tebbit, ESQ, Councillor, Her Majesty's Embassy, Copenhagen. Royal Victorian Order Knight Commander of the Royal Victorian Order William Godfrey Agnew, ESQ, C.V.O. The Reverend Maurice Frederick Foxall, C.V.O. Francis Galloway Leslie, ESQ, C.V.O. M. RCS.L. R.C.P. Commander of the Royal Victorian Order Professor Arthur Aspinall. Major General Cyril Harry Colquhoun, C.B.O.B.E. The Right Honourable Anne Fortune, Countess of Euston, J.P. The Right Honourable Elizabeth Mary, Countess of Leicester. Lieutenant Colonel Eric Charles William Mackenzie Penn, O.B.E.M. C. Major Robert Stevens, E.R.D. Francis John Bagot Watson, ESQ, M. V.O. Percy Arthur White, ESQ. member of the Royal Victorian Order. At this time the two lowest classes of the Royal Victorian Order were Member and Member, both with post-nominal letters MVO. Member was renamed Lieutenant from the 1985 New Year Honours onwards. 4th Class Commander James Morgan Child, Royal Navy. William Paul Oakleigh, ESQ. Commander Richard Lovell Hewitt, Royal Navy. Miss Enid Price Hill, M.V.O. Thomas Woodard, ESQ. John Woodman, ESQ. 5th Class Gordon Herbert Franklin, ESQ. George Leslie Hawes, ESQ. Philip Harold Venning, ESQ. Order of the British Empire Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the British Empire Air Chief Marshal Sir Walter Cheshire, K.C.B.C. B.E.A. D.C. Royal Air Force. Lieutenant Colonel the Right Honourable Alexander Robert Gisborne Gordon, C.B.E.D. S.O.D.L. Speaker of the Senate, Northern Ireland, 1961–1964. Minister in the Senate, 1951–1961. Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire, the Right Honourable Hester Agnes, Baroness Adrian B.E.M. for services to health including mental health and education. The Right Honourable Margaret, Baroness Wakehurst, for public services in Northern Ireland. Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire Instructor Rear Admiral Charles Roy Darlington, Major General Christopher Earl Welby Everard, CBO, BE, Late Infantry, General Officer Commanding, Nigerian Army. Acting Air Marshal Patrick Hunter Dunn, CBC, BED, FC, Royal Air Force. Air Vice Marshal David John Pryor Lee, CBC, BE, Royal Air Force. Sir Edmund Castell Bacon, BTO, BETD, Chairman, British Sugar Corporation Limited. Sir Henry Frank Harding Jones, M.B.E., Chairman of the Gas Council. John Wally, ESQ, CB, Deputy Secretary, Ministry of Pensions and National Insurance. Colonel John Edmund Hugh Bowstead, C. M.G.D., SOO, BEMC, Political Agent, Abu Dhabi. Cornelius Ewan McLean Greenfield, ESQ, C. M.G.M., BE, Secretary to the Treasury, Southern Rhodesia. Alexander Falconer Giles, ESQ, C. M.G.M., BE, Resident Commissioner, Basutoland. Order of the Companions of Honour the Right Honourable Lewis Baron Silken, Labour Member of Parliament for the Peckham Division of Camberwell, 1936–1950. Minister of Town and Country Planning, 1945–1950. Deputy Leader of the Opposition in the House of Lords, 1958–1964. For political and public services. New Zealand. Knight Bachelor Professor Edward George Sayers CMG MBF Dean of the Medical Faculty, Otago University. Order of the Bath. Companion of the Order of the Bath Military Division Air Vice Marshal Ian Gordon Morrison CBE, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Order of St. Michael and St. George. Companion of the Order of St. Michael and St. George George Burns, of Christchurch, for services to journalism. John Thomson Gilkerson, Commissioner of Works. Order of the British Empire. Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire Civil Division William Alfred Stevenson OBEJP of Auckland, for services to the community. Commander of the Order of the British Empire Civil Division Henry Cooper of Auckland, for services to education. Percy Dowse JP, Mayor of Hutt City. Alistair Murray Linton, Mayor of Rotorua. Ernest Richard Toop JP, of Wellington, for services to local government. Military Division Brigadier Robert Boyd Dawson DSO, New Zealand Regular Force. Officer of the Order of the British Empire Civil Division Arthur Dudley Carson, Director of the Fields and Marginal Lands Divisions, Department of Lands and Survey, Bertie Victor Cooksley MM of Masterton. For services to the community, Donald Alexander Finlayson JP of Northland. For services to the dairy industry, Alexander Kirkpatrick JP of Hastings. For services to local government, Grant Raglan Milne of Wellington. For services in the field of engineering, particularly as President of the New Zealand Institution of Engineers, Lawrence David Jose Nathan JP of Auckland. For services to the community in the fields of philanthropy and local government, Robert Steele Pearson, Superintendent of the Youth Centre, Prisons Department Waikaria. Morton Somerville Rennie of Auckland. For services to agriculture, Peter George Snell MBE of Auckland. For his outstanding achievement in the field of athletics, Miss Winifred Sarah Train, lately matron, Palmerston North Public Hospital, Frederick Turnovsky of Wellington. For services in the field of music, Military Division Commander John Malcolm Fielder VRD, Royal New Zealand Naval Volunteer Reserve, Lieutenant Colonel Noel Rodney Ingle MVO Ed, Royal New Zealand Corps of Signals, Wing Commander Melville Harry Scott Innes Jones, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Member of the Order of the British Empire Civil Division Victor Maxwell Anderson of Eketahuna. For services to local government, Edward Stewart Bibby JP of Waipawa. For services to the community, Miss Ada Clark of Auckland. For services to the missions to Seaman Harbour Lights Guild, Cyril James Cox JP. For services to the community, especially as chairman of the Nelson Health Camp Committee, Leo Vernon Farthing JP of Timaru. For services to local government and welfare organisations, Hubert Minari Hammond of Hamilton. For services to local government and horticulture, David Livingston Holmes JP. For community welfare services, especially as chairman of the Chatham Islands County Council, Bruce Hutchin of Taranaki. For services to the community, Miss Laura May Cook Ingram JP of Motueka. For services in the fields of community welfare and local government, Herbert George Kemp JP of Ashburton. For services to local government and the community, Miss Mabel Mahina Rangikwin Matron, Tapuia Springs Hospital, Gisborne, Thomas Mackenzie JP of Invercargill. For services to farming, Albert Henry Nees of Blenheim. For services to local body affairs, Edward Herbert Raymond JP, Mayor of Tapuke Borough Council. William John Richards, Mayor of Hokitika. Miss Tekayata Rewy Bem of Christchurch. For services as a welfare officer to the Maori people, Martin Sidney Stanley Smith JP, Deputy Mayor of Wanganui. Ernest Wilfred Turner JP of Auckland. For services to local government, Military Division Surgeon Lieutenant Commander Thomas Henry Logan, Royal New Zealand Navy. Warrant Officer Class 1 Jack Douglas Flowerday, Royal New Zealand Infantry Regiment. Major James Frederick Moody MC Ed MBC HBM RCP, Royal New Zealand Army Medical Corps. Squadron Leader Herbert Keel Horn, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Warrant Officer Laurie Alexander Anderson, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Warrant Officer Brian Elliott Nye, Royal New Zealand Air Force. British Empire Medal for Gallantry, Civil Division Andrew Robert McFarlane, Constable, New Zealand Police, for arresting a mentally unbalanced man armed with a rifle. Donald Kinloch White, Sergeant, New Zealand Police, for arresting a mentally unbalanced man armed with a rifle. Civil Division James Gordon Mearns, Station Maintenance Overseer, Ministry of Works Staff, Royal New Zealand Air Force Station, Hobsonville. Hector Redversier, Chief Guide, Waitomo Caves. Archibald Frederick Williams, Group Scout Master, 1st Karori Group. Military Division Chief Petty Officer Writer Frederick Cousins, Royal New Zealand Navy. Chief Petty Officer Electrician Michael John Patrick Headley, Royal New Zealand Navy. Chief Radio Electrical Artificer Peter George Saunders, Royal New Zealand Navy. Chief Petty Officer John Stokes, Royal New Zealand Navy. Sergeant John Lawrence Rogers Lydiate, Royal New Zealand Infantry Regiment. Staff Sergeant John Davidson Wright, Royal New Zealand Artillery. Flight Sergeant Maurice Allen Conroy, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Flight Sergeant James Walter Findlay, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Royal Red Cross. Associate of the Royal Red Cross Matron Iris Fraser, Royal New Zealand Nursing Corps. Air Force Cross Squadron Leader Edmund Chester Arundel, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Flight Lieutenant William Edmund Hugh Bromley, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Queen's Fire Service Medal for Distinguished Service Leslie Roy Joseph Osmond, Chief Fire Officer, Christchurch Fire Brigade. Hector Edward Braggins, lately 3rd Officer, Masterton Fire Brigade. Queen's Police Medal for Distinguished Service William Smith Craigie, Assistant Commissioner, New Zealand Police Force. Henry Mark Holmes, Detective Chief Superintendent, New Zealand Police Force. Queen's Commendation for Valuable Service in the Air Flying Officer Gerald Day, Royal New Zealand Air Force.